pain you feel right now, it's not punishment. It's potential knocking. But most people hear the knock and run the other way. They say, why is this so hard? They say, I just wish it were easier. But here's the truth. The goal was never for life to be easy. The goal was to become stronger. Wishing for easy is the anthem of the uncommitted. It is the lullaby of the lost, because life will never hand you peace. Life hands you pressure, and it's your response to that pressure that defines you. You don't build power in comfort. You build it in the forge. You build it in the struggle. You build it when everything in you wants to quit, and you keep going anyway. So, stop wishing for things to get lighter. Start lifting heavier. Stop praying for the rain to stop. Learn to dance in it. Stop begging for the road to smooth out. Grow boots tough enough to march it anyway. Because the truth is simple. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just becoming. And becoming hurts. Becoming requires fire. Not to destroy you, to refine you. But you have to want it. Want it more than comfort. More than safety. More than the opinions of those who gave up on their own dreams. You have to want growth more than ease. Because ease is a liar. It promises peace and delivers emptiness. But growth gives you something nothing else can, becoming unstoppable. It begins in the mind. Everything you are, everything you're not, everything you could be, it all begins in the silent war happening inside your head. Do you tell yourself, I can't do this? Or do you say, I will find a way? Do you shrink when it gets heavy? Or do you rise and say, this is what I was built for? Your mindset is not a luxury. It is your foundation. And if that foundation is cracked by excuses, it will collapse under pressure. But if that foundation is fortified with discipline, with purpose, with vision, then no storm can shake you. Every time you choose growth over ease, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you say no to distraction, no to delay, no to the voice inside that whispers, take the shortcut, you carve character into your soul. And that character, that relentless, unbreakable character, becomes the armor you wear through life. You see, discipline is not deprivation. It is devotion. Devotion to your future self. Devotion to the version of you that's waiting on the other side of hard things. Because there is no victory without sacrifice. No glory without grind. No transformation without tenacity. And tenacity doesn't scream. It whispers. It shows up early. It stays late. It does the work even when no one's watching. Most people don't lose to failure. They lose to fatigue, to boredom, to the seductive comfort of good enough. But you are not most people. You are the few, the rare, the relentless, the one who doesn't fold when it gets dark, but sharpens your vision to see through it. Because vision is not something you stumble into. It's something you build. You build it when you stop living by what you feel and start living by what you know. And what you know is this. The most powerful force on earth is not talent, not money, not luck. It's a human being who refuses to quit. So don't ask for it to be easy. Ask to be exceptional. Not someday. Not when you feel like it. But today, right now, in this breath, build the habits. Do the work. Repeat the reps. Raise your standards. Reclaim your time. Because every day you wish for ease is a day you lose to average. But every day you choose to grow even 1% is a day you become someone no storm can stop. Because this is not just motivation. This is the sound of your old life dying and your new self awakening. You see, the difference between where you are and where you could be is not a miracle. It's not some cosmic alignment. It's not luck or fate or a perfect set of circumstances. It's discipline. It's focus. It's how many times you're willing to say no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's worth it. You don't need everything to go right. You just need to go forward. Every time you choose the higher road, every time you do what others avoid, you are carving a life that most people will never touch. Not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't. They wanted it easy. But you wanted to be better. And that desire, that rare, sacred desire to become instead of escape, that's where transformation begins. Because there's a war going on inside you between the version of you that seeks comfort and the version of you that seeks conquest. The question is, which voice will you listen to? One says, just rest a little longer. The other says, get up. We've got work to do. One says, take a break. No one's watching. The other says, act like the whole world is depending on this moment. One says, this is too much. The other says, this is just enough to make you stronger. And every time you choose the second voice, every time you push when it hurts, stay when it's boring, rise when you fall, you are not just improving, you are ascending. This isn't about motivation anymore. It's about alignment. You are aligning your thoughts with action, your action with purpose, your purpose with power. And that power is not loud. It doesn't need attention. It doesn't post. It doesn't boast. It builds. It builds in the silence, in the sweat, in the sacrifices nobody sees. You are not becoming great by accident. You are becoming great by decision. And that decision to stop wishing it were easier and start demanding more from yourself. That is the dividing line. That's where everything changes, where life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. So burn the list of excuses. Delete the fantasy of the easy way. Set fire to the version of you that only shows up when it feels good. And rise. Rise like the entire weight of your destiny depends on it. Because it does. You weren't put here to coast. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't created to cope. You were born to conquer, to face the mountain, to walk through the storm, to train your soul in the furnace of adversity until there is nothing left inside you but steel and fire and the unshakable knowing that you will not be denied. So don't ever again wish for things to come easy. Wish with every breath, with every fiber, with every sunrise, to be better than you were yesterday. Because when you get better, everything gets better. Because here's the part most won't accept. Growth hurts. Evolution is brutal. Becoming the next version of you means killing the current one. Not softly, not gently, with surgical force. You don't stumble into greatness. You sacrifice for it. You bleed for it. You die to comfort 1,000 times for it. And that pain, that tension between where you are and where you could be, that is sacred. It is not something to escape. It is something to enter. Because the man or woman you were born to be is buried under layers of fear, laziness, validation, addiction, and excuses. And the only way to find them is to dig. Dig when you're tired. Dig when you're doubting. Dig when everything in you says stop and your soul whispers, keep going. Because every day you dig, you get closer to the gold. Not the kind you spend, but the kind you become. Let me say this with fire in my lungs. You don't get rich in life by chasing money. You get rich by building value. And value is built when you build yourself. You build value by showing up when no one's clapping, by doing the hard thing when no one's watching, by becoming so consistent, so focused, so intentional that the world has to take notice because your results are louder than any words you could ever say. You want to live on your terms? Then build the kind of character that deserves that freedom. You want to walk in rooms and shift the energy? Then build the kind of presence forged in early mornings, late nights, sacrifices that make no sense to others, and standards that most will call too much. Good. Let them. You're not here to fit in. You're here to rise. You're here to become a force of nature. The kind of person whose habits are stronger than emotion, whose vision is bigger than the obstacles, whose mind is harder than the mountain. Because when you stop wishing for easy and start living like your life is on the line every single day, you become undeniable. Not overnight, but over hundreds of ordinary days stacked with extraordinary effort. So if today is hard, good, let it break you open. Let it burn the excuses. Let it teach you how much more you are capable of. Because with every rep, with every early wake up, with every temptation you reject, you are building something the weak can't even imagine. And one day, they'll ask how you did it. And you'll smile because they'll never understand. You didn't pray for ease. You prayed for strength. And then you built it with your bare hands. You became the answer. You became the proof. You became the fire. Understand this. You don't get remembered for what you avoided. You get remembered for what you endured, for what you overcame, for what you became in the middle of the pressure. When every voice said stop and your soul screamed, not yet. Because here's the truth that will outlive us all. The greatest battle you'll ever fight is the one within. It's not the economy. It's not your upbringing. It's not your past. It's the moment you stare into the mirror and decide that who you've been is no longer enough, that the comfort zone has become a cage, and that the only way out is through the fire. You can't cheat the process. You can't shortcut greatness. You can't hack becoming unstoppable. It's earned. One brutal, beautiful, relentless step at a time. So stop asking for signs. You are the sign. Stop waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle if you choose to wake up and walk like it. Because no one is coming to make it easier. No one is coming to do the work for you. But the day you stop wishing for it to be easier and instead start becoming the person who can handle the hard, that's the day the whole game changes. The path doesn't get smoother. You get stronger. The weights don't get lighter. You get more powerful. The challenges don't disappear, but you stop fearing them because you realize every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise. Every delay is a setup for greater depth. Every loss is sharpening your blade. And one day, you'll look back and smile. Not because it was easy, but because it was worth it. You'll see how every early morning, every tear you didn't post, every moment you chose discipline over distraction, built something sacred, a life of integrity, a spirit of fire, and a mind that doesn't just survive, it commands. So remember this every single day. You don't need life to hand you anything. You just need to wake up and ask more from yourself. More focus, more heart, more consistency, more courage. Because you're not in competition with anyone else. You're in a war with the version of you that settles. And that version loses today. Because you're done wishing. You're done waiting. You're done hoping for a softer world. You're building yourself to handle the one that exists. And that is where freedom begins. That is where power is born. That is when life finally says, now you're ready. So go. Live like your life is a masterpiece in progress. Think like the world is being built through you. Act like every step matters because it does. And rise, not for ease, but for greatness. Everyone feels it at some point. That fire in the gut, that electric energy coursing through your veins. You watch a video, hear a speech, catch a glimpse of who you could become, and suddenly you feel unlimited. That's motivation. It's beautiful. It's real. It's necessary. But it doesn't last. Because the world doesn't run on fire, it runs on fuel. And that fuel is called discipline. Motivation is the spark that lights the match. But discipline is the hand that keeps the flame alive when the wind starts to howl. Motivation gets you to start the journey. Discipline ensures you finish it. Because let's be honest, every great idea begins with a high. The dream is exciting. The plan feels perfect. The energy is unstoppable for a while. Then life happens. The alarm clock rings earlier than you wanted. The workout feels heavier than expected. The work gets boring. The results don't come fast enough. And suddenly, that motivation, it's nowhere to be found. That's the test. Because greatness isn't found in the moment you start. It's forged in the moment you feel like quitting and keep going anyway. It's what you do after motivation leaves that decides everything. Most people live on emotional roller coasters. They start strong. They disappear when the mood fades. They rely on how they feel instead of remembering what they committed to. That's why they don't grow. But you're not most people. You don't want a life that rises and falls on emotion. You want something sustainable, something strong, something real. You want to grow. And growth requires consistency. Consistency requires discipline. Discipline is showing up when you're tired. It's working when no one is watching. It's saying no when distraction calls. It's sticking to the plan when comfort screams for your attention. Discipline is saying to your future self, I've got you. Even when your present self is exhausted, uninspired, and uncertain. Because here's the truth. The world doesn't reward starters. It rewards finishers. The world doesn't pay for ideas. It pays for execution. And execution lives in the hands of the disciplined. You don't rise by being motivated every day. You rise by mastering your habits, especially on the hard days. Because discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only cares whether or not you move. And when you move with discipline over and over, through resistance, through repetition, through rain and routine, that's when growth becomes inevitable. That's when your body starts to change. That's when your mindset sharpens. That's when your bank account grows. That's when your leadership is forged. That's when your destiny shifts. Not in a single moment of hype, but in 1,000 moments of choosing discipline over ease. Because you don't get what you wish for in life. You get what you're willing to work for consistently. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't brag. It doesn't need applause. It's not sexy, but it's undeniable. Because the results it creates, they're permanent. Discipline builds self-respect. It creates peace of mind. It unlocks levels most people will never reach, not because they're not capable, but because they weren't consistent enough. You want to know the difference between success and struggle? It's not motivation. It's how long you're willing to show up without applause. It's how long you're willing to do the right thing before the results catch up. That's the long game. That's the real game. That's where discipline dominates. And here's the secret most people miss. Discipline isn't punishment. It's freedom. It's the freedom to trust yourself, to know you'll follow through, to walk into any room and know that you don't need to talk because your habits already speak louder than your words ever could. Discipline makes you dangerous, not because you're loud, but because you're relentless. You become the kind of person who can't be thrown off track because you are the track. You built the path you're walking. And it wasn't built in hype. It was built in silence. In early mornings, in disciplined nights, in doing the work, even when the world was sleeping. That's where growth lives. Not in the idea, but in the execution. Not in the promise, but in the practice. Not in the motivation, but in the mastery earned through daily discipline. So the next time you don't feel like it, the next time the fire dies down, the next time your mind says, skip it, rest, quit, you tell it this: motivation got me started, but discipline is what keeps me growing. And I'm not here to be excited. I'm here to be excellent. I'm not here for comfort. I'm here for character. I'm not here to chase hype. I'm here to become unstoppable. Because that's the shift, the internal switch that separates a lifetime of regret from a life of reward. The moment you stop asking, how can I stay motivated? And start asking, who do I need to become to stay consistent? The moment you stop seeking quick fixes and start embracing daily fundamentals. Because greatness doesn't arrive in a lightning strike, it accumulates like water over stone. And the tool that carves through resistance is not talent. It's not luck. It's not even passion. It's discipline. Discipline to do what needs to be done without drama. To rise without needing recognition. To keep your promise even when no one's watching. It's the builder of trust. The author of confidence. The source of real power. You don't need more hype. You need habits. You don't need more fire. You need a framework, because motivation can make you feel like a lion for a minute. But discipline makes you hunt like one every day. Not just when you're inspired, but when it's cold, when it's boring, when you're tired, when it's lonely, when it's hard, because that's when character is forged. That's when mastery is written. That's when real growth happens, not in your victories, but in your resistance to surrender. You want to change your body? Discipline. You want to change your finances? Discipline. You want to build a business? Discipline. You want to earn trust, respect, peace, and power? Discipline. Because the most powerful people in the world don't have more hours in the day. They just own more of their minutes. They don't waste time wondering what to do because they've already decided who they are. And who they are shows up regardless of emotion. That's the mark of a professional. That's the mark of someone who doesn't just work. They work with intention. They train. They track. They study. They execute. They grow. Not once a month. Not when it's trendy. But every single day. Even in silence. Even in setbacks. Even in suffering. Because they know the truth. Every time you skip the excuse, every time you override the laziness, every time you keep the promise to yourself, you are proving who you are. You are earning respect with every rep. And here's what makes discipline so unstoppable. It stacks. It compounds. It builds a mountain of momentum so massive that soon the cost of quitting becomes greater than the pain of continuing. You don't even entertain weakness anymore because your identity is now wired for strength. Your mind stops negotiating. Your feet keep moving. Your eyes stay locked on the path. Your habits hold the line. That's when you've crossed over. From relying on motivation to living in mastery. From chasing high energy to commanding high standards. From needing the world to push you to becoming the one who pulls others up. That's leadership. That's power. That's how you outlast, outperform, outdiscipline everyone around you. Not with shortcuts, but with standards. Standards that don't move with the wind. Standards that don't fall when things get heavy. Standards that become you. And when your standard is discipline, your growth is guaranteed. Because you no longer live from your feelings. You live from your foundations. And foundations don't break when the storm comes. They hold strong. So what do you build your life on? Excitement? That fades. Inspiration? That's temporary. Discipline? That's forever. Because forever isn't built in one decision. It's built in 1,000 quiet ones. The decision to wake up on time when no one would know if you didn't. The decision to train when your muscles ache and your mind begs you to stop. The decision to read, to write, to study when the world is screaming for your attention. The decision to stay true when the easier thing would be to quit. That's where growth hides. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't flash a sign. It waits silently behind the doors most people never open. Because those doors are disguised as boredom. They're disguised as repetition. They're disguised as inconvenience. But behind them, strength, stability, success. Because the truth is this, the people you admire, the ones who've created impact, wealth, legacy, they weren't just driven. They were disciplined. Driven is loud. Discipline is consistent. Driven starts fast. Discipline finishes strong. Driven gets you through the first chapter. Discipline writes the last sentence. And the longer you live, the more you realize anyone can be driven for a moment. But few are disciplined for a lifetime. Because discipline costs you something. It costs you comfort. It costs you popularity. It costs you the cheap highs that come from cutting corners. But what you gain yourself. You gain a version of you that doesn't need a pep talk to perform. A version that doesn't depend on validation to feel valuable. A version that isn't swayed by failure or inflated by applause. A version that is rooted, real, relentless. You gain the life you were always meant to live, not because someone gave it to you, but because you built it. And you built it the hard way. Brick by brick. Step by step. Day by day. In the cold. In the quiet. In the absence of motivation. You built it with nothing but your word and the discipline to keep it. That's where pride comes from. Not from being perfect, but from knowing you showed up anyway. And that pride, that's peace. The peace that comes from becoming someone you don't have to explain. Because your habits, your presence, your work, they speak for you. So if you want to grow, not just start strong, but stay strong. Don't ask yourself what motivates you. Ask yourself what you've committed to. Ask yourself what you're willing to do when no one is watching. What you're willing to build in silence. What you're willing to do every single day without needing hype or recognition. Because that's who you really are. Not what you do once, but what you do repeatedly. And the life you end up with, it won't be the result of a single breakthrough. It'll be the compound effect of relentless discipline. So when your mind says, it's okay to skip today, you reply, no, this is who I am now. When your body says, let's take it easy, you respond, let's grow instead. When life says, you've done enough, you answer, I'm not done yet. Because motivation got you going. But discipline is what keeps you growing. And you're not here to just move. You're here to multiply. Not here to survive, but to scale. Not here to live on fire for a week, but to burn with purpose for a lifetime. And that kind of life, that kind of unstoppable, unshakable, undeniable growth, that's not given. It's earned through discipline every single day. There's a currency more sacred than gold, more unforgiving than failure, more powerful than talent, education, or even connections. It's the currency that every legend protects and every average life squanders. It's not money. It's not luck. It's not opportunity. It's time. Time is the only resource you cannot borrow, beg, steal, rewind, or replace. You don't get to save it. You only get to spend it. And what you spend it on will become the story of your life. Every second, a seed. Every minute, a mirror. Every hour, a brick laid in the structure of your legacy. And the cruel truth, most people are bankrupt. Not financially, spiritually, emotionally, purposefully. Because they've traded time for the illusion of productivity, for the comfort of distraction, for the noise that keeps them busy, but never better. They wake up without purpose, move through their day without urgency, scroll through their hours like time is infinite. But it's not. It's perishable. It's dying as fast as you're breathing. And every second you waste, someone else is using that same moment to build, to sharpen, to rise. This isn't fear. This is truth. Because when you understand the value of time, you don't just respect it. You revere it. You treat it like royalty. You protect it like gold. You use it like fire in your hands. Because what you do with your time reveals what you truly value. You say you want success, but how much time did you give your dream today? You say you want freedom, but how much time did you waste on people who aren't free themselves? You say you want legacy, but how many of your hours are being spent building anything that will outlive you? Time is the great equalizer. It humbles kings. It empowers the unseen. It doesn't care about your past. It doesn't listen to your excuses. It only answers to your discipline. So, ask yourself, what is your relationship with time? Do you lead it, or does it lead you? Do you command your calendar, or are you a servant to circumstance? Do you start your day with intention, or do you wake up already in defeat? Because here's the truth. You don't have a time problem. You have a purpose problem, a priority problem, a personal standard problem. When time becomes sacred, your life becomes focused. Your yes becomes valuable. Your no becomes powerful. You stop entertaining what doesn't build you. You stop delaying what your future is begging for. You stop wasting hours on things that drain your spirit. Because you realize the way you spend your time is the way you spend yourself. And you were not made to be average. You were made to amplify, to execute, to rise. When you truly understand the value of time, you stop living like you have forever. You stop postponing your greatness. You stop pushing your potential into a mythical someday that never comes and never will, unless you command it into existence today. Because here's the harsh truth. If you died tomorrow, would the hours you live today have meant anything? Would they prove you were becoming who you said you'd become? Would they testify that you used your time with honor? Or would they echo back with silence? The silence of wasted potential, of borrowed time, of dreams that never got built. You see, you can't manage time if you don't first respect it. And you can't respect time until you understand that it doesn't care who you are. It only serves the committed. Time is like a mirror. It doesn't reflect what you want. It reflects what you prioritize. It reflects who you are when no one's watching. And this is what separates the ones who rise from the ones who always talk about rising. The successful, the fulfilled, the legendary. They don't treat time casually. They don't wake up hoping the day goes well. They own it. They build it. They bend it to the rhythm of their vision. Because when your life is urgent with purpose, time becomes a weapon, not a weight. You use every minute to shape something that matters. You walk into each hour like it owes you legacy. You protect your schedule like it holds your freedom, because it does. You don't give hours to the past. You don't give hours to people who don't respect your future. You don't give hours to excuses that have outlived their usefulness. Instead, you carve out space for mastery. You calendar your discipline. You schedule your future like it's your duty. And that's when time begins to multiply for you. Because here's the paradox of time. When you honor it, when you fill it with focus and purpose and execution, you get more of it. Not in quantity, but in quality, in impact, in clarity, in results. One focused hour in the hands of a person on fire with purpose is more valuable than a full day of scattered distraction. This is the difference between the extraordinary and the exhausted. They're not working harder. They're just working cleaner, more aligned, more precise, more present. They've learned how to say no, like their life depends on it, because it does. Every no to distraction is a yes to elevation. Every no to nonsense is a yes to your name being written in history. So ask yourself, what are you giving your hours to? What is your time feeding? What is your time creating? Because time is not just passing, it's taking shape. And what it becomes is up to you. then stand tall, because this is the moment where your life pivots. Not next week, not when it's convenient. Now, because if you've truly understood anything up to this point, then you know this isn't about clocks. This isn't about to-do lists or productivity hacks. This is about honor. Honor for your calling. Honor for your mind. Honor for your one and only life. You see, the value of time is not found in how fast you can check off tasks. It's found in how deeply you can live each moment, how present you are in the creation of your future, how willing you are to pay the price today so you never have to beg tomorrow. Time is your teacher, your mirror, your currency, and your test. And every day you wake up with breath in your lungs, you are being asked one question: what will you do with me? That question comes with no warning, no negotiation, and no refund. You don't get to pause the clock until life feels fair. You don't get to rewind it just because you weren't ready. You don't get to fast forward to the good parts, but you do get to decide what you build with it. You do get to control what goes on your schedule. You do get to lead your hours like a king leads an army. That means no more killing time, no more wasting time, no more casual afternoons that bleed into purposeless nights. Every minute matters, because every minute is a vote. A vote for the life you want, or a vote for the life you're tolerating. You say you want greatness? Prove it with how you spend your mornings. You say you want peace? Show it by what you no longer allow into your mental space. You say you want legacy? Then honor your hours like the generations after you depend on it. Because they do. You don't get rich by working harder. You get rich by valuing time more than money. You don't build success by adding more. You build it by cutting what doesn't matter. And you don't create freedom by avoiding the clock. You create it by leading it, owning it, becoming the kind of person who uses time with surgical precision. And here's the final truth, the one that either breaks you or builds you. Your time is running out. Every minute is gone. Every breath spent. Every excuse stealing the only thing you can never get back. So stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for life to slow down and finally give you time. It won't. You make time. You declare war on distraction. You execute with clarity. You live so intentionally that time itself begins to bend in your direction, because that's what happens when your life is led with purpose. That's what happens when you decide right here, right now, that every day from this moment forward is a day you own, a day you build, a day you live fully aware that this moment is priceless and you're done letting it slip away. Let the world keep rushing. Let the clock keep ticking. Let others waste their hours in noise. But you move in clarity. You act with reverence. You rise with rhythm, and you lead your life like time is your most sacred resource, because it is. And now you know exactly what to do with it.